Hello everybody, SlimKirby here, and welcome back to the Animal Crossing Let's Play. You are currently watching the abridged portion of this playthrough, where I cut out all the fluff and simply talk about my adventures of playing through an entire year of Animal Crossing in a summary format. If you'd rather watch the playthrough in its entirety, check out the video description for a link to a playlist that has all the episodes and stream sessions I've done, raw and unedited. But if you'd rather stick around for these videos, well, just sit back and enjoy my adventures through Popstar. Wednesday, January 9th. Today immediately had the day start out on the wrong foot when Bill actually sent us a pretty mean letter. I swear, I don't know what the Animal Crossing gods did to this iteration of Bill, but this guy is not the best duck friend I remember from other playthroughs of the game. Anyway, as disappointing as this letter was, Bill only contributed less than half of my anger and annoyance today, as I'm starting to get really burnt out from doing this stupid snowman stuff. I actually had 2 snowballs that were very close today, but due to my impatience, I accidentally lost one of them and had to start the process all over again by finding another snowball, which took a really long time to do. And even though I did finally find it, guess what? When I brought them together and started building, it decided that it didn't want to be perfect. So, no item for me, I guess. It can be such a time sink to do this, and ultimately not even be rewarded for it. I'm thankful I only have 3 items left, but still, it really hurts and sucks to be so close, within striking distance of something, just to get held up by something else. Kinda similar to the whole morning aerobics thing we dealt with back during the summer months, but at least in that case, we immediately knew we weren't going to get credit for it due to the rain whenever it was raining. I actually wrote a letter to Lily about my snowman frustrations and inquired if I could get a hug. Hugs always make things better after all. Also, completely unrelated from the rest of the day, but something I did notice in editing, this is actually the halfway point of the project, so hooray, happy halfway point everybody. Thursday, January 10th. Well, if you thought my rage against the snowmen couldn't get any worse, let this be the day where the straw broke the snow camel's back. Once again, I have a really annoying time getting the snowballs together, once again destroying an initial snowball in the process. Ultimately, I did succeed on this day, but when I opened my present later, I was absolutely beat down when I saw, after making nearly 80% progress through the Snowman series list, the snowman finally decided to give me a duplicate item. And safe to say, I wasn't happy about it. In fact, I actually rage quit the Snowman series at that point and sold everything I had to Tom Nook and made a vow that I would be done with trying to make snowmen for the snowman furniture. And I was not joking when I said that. Which, I know, I was close to being done, and some would probably say I gave up too early, but I just did not have fun doing this. I just wish there was a better indication of knowing when you had the right size snowballs. Or at the very least, it was more lenient with the sizing when getting the reward. Or, you know, it wouldn't give duplicates. I know this was essentially something to aim for during a time when I'm admittedly struggling to find objectives to accomplish, but I'd rather have looser, more fun objectives as opposed to pushing me through tasks that I wasn't personally enjoying. That's just me being blunt and honest, guys. Plus, I don't think we're going to be short of things to talk about very soon, based on something I'm planning to do in the very near future, but more on that later. As for other happenings today, I had a very interesting quirk with a pitfall seed, where for some reason, Bill wasn't able to walk over the pitfall, nor was I able to push him into it either. I planted the seed, but for some reason it just wouldn't let me push him on top of it. At first I theorized it was because he noticed me putting it down or something like that, but later on I accidentally stepped on another pitfall trap, so maybe it was because you're not supposed to have 2 active at a time or something. I have no idea, because that sounds like a very weird quirk. After unearthing the other pitfall though, it seemed to work fine against Caesar, so hey, no complaints from me. Wednesday, June 4th? A young boy named John from the town of Pieces decides to take a trip to another town to buy some stuff. Little does he know, the train enters a weird time vortex that freaks him out beyond belief, turning him into an expressionless vegetable until he gets up the courage to ride that train to complete his destiny. Okay, so there is a lot to unpack here. I mentioned wanting to do this in passing, as there were some particular tasks I wanted to accomplish in this playthrough that Popstar would be unable to provide for me, and I figured this would be a good time for me to do so, especially when I was kind of running out of things to do for my daily visits. Therefore, I decided it was time to create a second town and showcase some of the functionality that exists when you have two unique files on two unique memory cards. Namely, you can have your characters from one town visit another character's town when both memory cards are inside a Nintendo GameCube. However, I admittedly made a bit of a mistake here, and in a panic, I accidentally activated a glitch. Or, well, not really a glitch, more like a game program punishment. You see, when John was on his way to Popstar, I realized that I hadn't touched my town in about 11 days. I had just come back from a family vacation and hadn't touched the file since my previous stream before the vacation, and despite trying to prepare for this little cross adventure as best as I could, making sure my town was still on the right date was the one thing I forgot to do. I realized this while John was riding the train, so I quickly turned off my game and tried to change the date in Popstar back to the day it was supposed to be before Popstar loaded in and essentially skipped an entire week and a half of progress in the game. This unfortunately had two negative effects. For one, even though I changed the time, I had to actually go into Popstar and save, which I definitely didn't do. And two, when I loaded back in with John, not only had John's facial features turned into basically a gyroid face, but he also lost all the bells and items he had in his inventory. I think the developers programmed this in as a punishment for those who try to visit someone else's town, mess something up, and try to leave without saving through the game's expected means, and I just happened to activate it through my panic state at the time. As a result, even though I technically didn't need any bells to visit Popstar, I did it to regain a little bit of John's money back, as he had a gift that he wanted to leave my character of Popstar. So, after doing that and ordering said gift through the catalog, I decided to visit Popstar once again for take number 2. Of course though, that's when I realized I didn't actually save the calendar change, so it was technically January 22nd. At that point, I had already wasted about 30 minutes of time, so I decided to bite the bullet and just own my mistake and deal with whatever ramifications happen as a result of this. When John arrived at Popstar, he immediately went to Nookways, bought a couple of items, and then he went over to the police station to pick up a map he could use to navigate around the town if he ever decided to visit in the future. Beyond that, John didn't do much else in Popstar. He did admire a lovely portrait of the Koopa King that was erected next to a very empty house plot, which, more on that later if you haven't figured out the significance of that happening yet. But aside from that, that was about it for John's trip to Popstar. So, he went back home, dropped something mysterious on the ground, and went to sleep, tired from his big day of adventuring and time travel shenaniganry. Friday, January 11th. Okay, it's back to business with Slim, and on the right date this time too. Unfortunately though, the antics in the future already led to a very disappointing departure, and if you haven't figured it out yet, we actually lost Ricky as a result of my actions. By not changing the date back sooner, and by extension, not saving the calendar switch when I did try to change it, time had already advanced beyond the customary 10-day move-out cycle, and the RNG landed on Ricky this time. Now, I'm not sure if things would have been different if I had kept going with the days naturally, or if the game just chaotically picked Ricky out of thin air. He could have just as easily been the next move-out anyway, we just lost any potential time to prepare for that possibility. Anyway, I'm going to miss Ricky. Of the original 6, he was probably my favorite male villager, and more than that, he was also a familiar face from the Moe's Bar town of old, so he had some nostalgic value for me as well. More on that, he gave us the firstborn fruit in our town, twice no less, and has really just been a positive force for our town, even despite his cranky personality. His relationship with Caesar was questionable, but even I'll admit that Ricky at least made Caesar more tolerable overall. So, moving forward, the big smelly ape might have a rougher time with us. But yeah, bon voyage, Ricky. It's been real, and it's been a pleasure. So long, you nutcase. Also, damn, nobody is going to call me nutcase anymore. That's actually kind of sad. Ricky's replacement has already made himself at home, in Ricky's spot no less, So let's all give a warm welcome to Oxford, the purple cow, or bull, or whatever. It's a bovine of some sort anyway. I'll admit, from all the chaos of this day, Oxford didn't really give me a lot to work with, or want to work with, at least for right now, so we may have to warm up to him a little bit at first. I think I'll try to give him a chance at least, unlike Betty and some of the snooties we've gotten as of late. Anyway, I do a few of my other dailies, find out that Wendell is coming on the 13th, which he was supposed to come today, but maybe some of the time travel stuff messed with the special visitor clock, and then I head to the train to visit the town of Pieces. Yep, that's right. We're actually going to visit the town that started all the chaos for today. Along the way, we run into a familiar face as we say hello to Rover again. Rover is actually not the only NPC you can meet in these train rides, so maybe if I do other visits in the future, we can run into the other one. Although it is RNG, so we'll see if that happens. We make our way to the town of Pieces, and yeah, admittedly this town is not as developed as Popstar is. It's almost like I made this town the night before this stream or something. However, even if this town is new, there are still some features of this town that are worth talking about. For one, it has a different layout and different neighbors, so we have a bunch of new animal friends to meet. The Pieces villager roster, at least for right now, consists of Goldie the dog, Petunia the cow, Lulu the hippo, Cube the penguin, Teddy the bear, good pun, and Admiral the bird. Now, the funny thing about Cube was that he actually wasn't an original member of the Pieces community, and instead, the town featured Bob the cat, a very popular and well-known cat villager. However, I think John's visit to Popstar put Bob in limbo, meaning he was supposed to move to Popstar, but due to the various actions from the day, and Ricky moving out and Oxford moving in, he's either in a queue waiting to move into Popstar, or he's just gone forever now, lost in the void. Sad if true, but I really have no idea how these move-out nuances work, especially when a lot of very random occurrences, like the happenings from the day, come into play. Another interesting feature of Pieces is the fact that the town actually has 3 elevation levels instead of 2. I knew this could happen, but I've honestly never seen it happen before in these games, so it was cool to have it happen here. Also, another thing that Pieces has that Popstar doesn't, a freaking holding pond. That's right, finally we can get the 2 holding pond fish that have eluded our fish log since the beginning of this playthrough. In this body of water during the months of April through half of September, you can catch the small shadow-sized crawfish, and from May through August, you can catch the tiny shadow-sized frog. I know these 2 aren't actually fish, but in this game they count for the fish logs, so make sure you get them. Also, since it is still June in Pieces, we have the opportunity to catch the firefly, a bug that only appears in June from the hours of 7 p.m. until 4 a.m., and whenever it's not raining. And even though I could wait until June to get this critter, it's quite literally right here, and the final bug I need for my insect collection. So, I make the very easy decision to catch it, and finally finish my insect log. Heck, even Admiral congratulates us on accomplishing this feat, so hey, thanks a lot, buddy. With these acquisitions, I finally decide to head home to Popstar, but not before picking up the gift John has left for us. You see, there's actually a funny story involved here. When John was working part-time for this town's Tom Nook, he got a really interesting gift from one of the neighbors, a classic painting. And a Guess Whose art gallery is still missing a classic painting. Yeah, I was shocked this actually spawned in this fashion, but hey, I'm not complaining. One less painting to get now. When I make it back home, I immediately go to the museum and donate my 4 things. We now only need 1 fish and 2 more artwork to complete the museum. Literally, we can count these things on just one hand, and I am very excited about that prospect. With that done and a very busy and action-packed day under wraps, I think it's about time to rest and put this chaos behind us. Now, there are 2 more developments that will happen as a result of these visits, but we'll get to those on the next day. Saturday, January 12th. Before we get to any developments, we're immediately greeted by Tortimer on this day, who congratulates us for catching all the insects in the game, rewarding us with not just a trophy being displayed in our house, but also the fabled golden net. The golden net, in addition to looking cool, has a wider catching area, making some insects a bit easier to catch, or at least making it so there's less room for error. Not exactly a major upgrade though, at least in this game, because I'd honestly argue that catching bugs is relatively easy in this game anyway. But still, an interesting and cool update nonetheless. With that out of the way, let's get to the interesting stuff. Or at least more interesting stuff. First and foremost, we get a notice that Tom Nook is remodeling his shop. And in order to trigger this upgrade, you need to have someone visit from another town and buy something from your shop at any point from your town's creation onward, even if the purchase was done back at Nook's Cranny. You also need to generate a certain number of bells at Nookways as well, but you'll likely do that over time, considering we've had Nookways for almost half a year anyway. This is the final upgrade for Nook's shop, and this was another reason why I wanted to create a second town, just so I could have John come over and buy something so we can get this upgrade. Of course though, we won't be able to see the fruits of this process until tomorrow, but still, I'm very excited to see this upgrade again. The other big development today was that we got a letter from Portia, and it turns out that she has decided to move to Pieces. And yes, this is something that can happen when you visit other towns. Your own neighbors can decide to move to the town you decide to visit. Meaning, if you love your neighbors, you pretty much risk them leaving you if you visit someone else. Something I'm not exactly crazy about. This was especially true of my very first Animal Crossing town, where I lost 2 of my starting 6 villagers to the same person because of this quirk. Now, here's the good news. Because they have just moved on over to the town you visited, they have not been deleted or removed from the plane of existence. You can still very much visit that town again if you ever want to talk to them or visit with them again. It's just that you risk someone else moving if you do this, so keep that in mind. Anyway, even though Portia has become a long-standing member of Popstar, and even though we have gotten pretty close to her over the last couple of weeks, I'm honestly not too bummed that she moved here. Will I miss her? Of course. As I said before, she was a consideration for a potential GF after Cherry, if it wasn't for the fact that she had a boyfriend already. And despite being a snooty, I did feel like I was able to appreciate her despite that personality typing. Plus, she had a very interesting way of expressing herself through her clothing choices. However, I kinda had the feeling that she wanted to move for a very long time, considering on average, or perhaps even more on average, she continuously brought up the notion of leaving Popstar and moving on in a regular conversation a number of times. And it got to a point where I just kinda made peace with that fact, that she wanted to go somewhere else, and almost kinda hoped she would, just so she could be happier somewhere else. Will Pieces give her that sanctuary? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Goodbye, Portia. Thank you for being perhaps one of the better snooties I've ever had in an Animal Crossing game. And, well, not to sound redundant, as I feel like I've said this a number of times now, whenever this has gone down, but as you know, when one snooty leaves, another snooty enters the fray, as we meet up with Popstar's newest resident, Tiara, a snooty rhinoceros. And let's just say I don't think she started things on the greatest foot, making it seem like she has a pretty nasty attitude, and the fact she called us Yelly Von Hollerlots, which is not only kind of cringe, but just kind of bad in general. Safe to say, I don't think she'll be sticking around much. Plus, we got another new neighbor yesterday anyway, and I'm a little more invested in him right now, if I'm being honest. But yeah, regardless of where you are in that 10-day cycle of move-outs, if you visit someone else's town, that will immediately push a move-out to the next day, even if it's only day 1 of that cycle, so keep that in mind. Oh, and let's not forget, it's Saturday today too, so we have some music to do. Our town tune this week was the following. Name that tune. And as always, after creating our new town tune, we decided to hang out with KK Slider, who we requested to play KK Corral this time. Or Coral, or I don't know how you say that. Sunday, January 13th. We have another new neighbor today, but maybe not in the same sense you're expecting, because Nook's final store upgrade, Nookington's, is finally here. And after going inside the spacious building, you can probably see a lot of nice potential here. Well, if the store actually had furniture, clothing, wallpaper, and carpets anyway. Do not fret though, because what you are seeing is only half of what's offered here, because the building actually has a second floor, and that's the floor you are probably going to be more interested in. This floor is ran by Nook's two apprentices, the Nooklings, and no, I don't think they're actually related to Tom Nook. The fact that they look similar is purely coincidental. But say hello to Timmy and Tommy. They perform essentially the same functions as Tom Nook, but their floor has all the good stuff, including 6 random furnitures per day, 5 clothing items, and 3 carpets and 3 wallpapers. Combine this with the parasol downstairs, and you can get a whopping 18 raffle tickets per day if you're really looking to clean house at the Nook lotteries. Anyway, if you're trying to get everything in the catalog, getting Nookington's as soon as possible is a must, as it will give you lots of opportunities to get a wide variety of stock that you may have not gotten yet. Since it's been a few months since I started paying attention to my catalog, I'm kind of at that point where I'm still going to get more repeats than new stuff, but still I'm finding some new stuff from time to time, particularly with the clothing items, although there may be another reason for that which I'll go over later. After spending some time at the shopping center, I decided to spend the rest of the day in town having a neighbor day. I also did find Wendell today too, so I got another wallpaper from him. My main goal for this neighbor day was to spend a little bit of time with our newest neighbors, Oxford and Tiara. I will say, although I'm not really big on either of them, Oxford is probably the one I'll end up keeping here, at least for a little bit, and since I already wrote a letter to him anyway, all I have to do is just not write anything to Tiara, and she'll be gone by the 22nd. I'll try to see if she changes anything with me though, although the prospects aren't too good for her at the moment. But like I said, even Oxford isn't that much better. In fact, he does seem to have a little bit of a mean streak in him. On the subject of being mean, Curly painted the roof of my house again. Which, come on dude, we've been over this. And Bill, although he didn't paint the roof of my house, he did have a rather annoying request of giving me a favor that involved delivering an item to Portia, our most recent move-out. If you have a neighbor move into a friendly village, this is something that can happen sometimes, and the neighbors do expect you to complete these favors too. Now, I normally wouldn't have a problem with this, because it can be nice visiting other towns and saying hello to old friends and familiar faces. But, as I said before, every time you go to another village, you risk another one of your neighbors moving to that exact town, even if you are just going to deliver something. So, whenever I see one of these favors, I'm probably going to reject them, unless I'm mentally ready to lose someone. So, sorry to all my animal friends that I will ultimately piss off by refusing these favors. The biggest MVP of this neighbor day, though, would have to be Dina. I mentioned this before, but whenever you have a neighbor in an igloo, normal villagers are the ones you want to see inside. This is because they have an item game where it's very easy to have your pick of what items you want. And if you are trying to go for all the exclusive igloo items, or just trying to pick up a bunch of items for the catalog, don't be surprised if you spend a lot of time in the igloo on these days. The item game you are looking for is when they talk about showing you 5 different items, each one with a different price. They will go through the list in order, and when you see something that you like, you can just buy it with no strings attached. Unless you make it to item number 5, which in that case you just buy it automatically, even if they overcharge you for it. Now, for this game, as long as you have bells, you should be able to afford everything. And the most they'll charge you is half of your total bells. But again, that's only for the 5th item anyway. But yeah, I got a lot of good stuff here from Dina, including 4 of the igloo items, and even a few other items I was missing from my catalog. Even an item that was marked as a red shop item appeared, which clearly shows you how good of a process this is, especially if you are looking to complete the catalog. This day with Dina was a major boost for her standing in Popstar, and although she isn't my favorite girl or anything, she definitely earned some nice clout and gave her the title of my best igloo buddy. But yeah, look at these igloo items. an igloo model, a fireplace, crab stew. Damn, this girl knows how to live the igloo life, I swear. But yeah, pretty solid day, all things considered. Heck, I don't think I even checked turnips today either. Or if I did, they were nothing impressive. Monday, January 14th. Something was definitely in the air today. The cheap and frustrating aroma of deja vu. Bill asked us to deliver something to Portia. Again. Curly painted the roof of my house. Again. Seriously, what's up with my jock villagers lately? Although not a deja vu from yesterday, one of the furniture items in Nookington's today was the exact same painting that I received as a gift from John of Pieces, which was kind of a strange coincidence that it took until I got it for it to appear in my shop finally. Also, Dina buried something in town today, but unfortunately it was only a pitfall. Miles worse than anything we got from her yesterday, but hey, I'm not going to retaliate against her because she did treat us very well yesterday. Instead, I just use it on Caesar again. On the subject of the igloo, Oxford was in it today, but his games were honestly probably the worst of the ones I've played so far. Too much guesswork involved with getting the best prizes, so was definitely not an ideal experience. It was also about time to visit Wisp again, but after a long spirit hunt, he once again only gave us a gyroid, this time a ratchet and clankoid. Okay, it's just called a clankoid, but I couldn't resist the pun, or making the reference I know everyone else wanted to make. Tuesday, January 15th. This day was very unremarkable in terms of happenings. Heck, the fact that I couldn't even get anything new from the expanded inventory shop is pretty much a testament to that. But I did actually have a very important task in mind today. Around this time of the month in January, you can find Tortimer wandering around the Wishing Well from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. I'm not sure if there's any variance in the exact dates, but it seems like the 15th of January is generally the day you want to aim for. If you talk to the tortoise, he'll mention taking a vacation for a week and ask if you could perform a favor for him while he's away. That favor being turning on the lighthouse every day between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. So yay, we actually get some responsibility here. So for the next week, our job will be coming on during that time and performing our civic duty. And if we manage to succeed in this task, we'll even get a nice reward from Torty as well. You can probably guess what it is based on previous rewards we've gotten from him, but hey, at least we're actually doing something now, and we don't have to worry about building a freaking perfect snowman or getting duplicate items. Nah, I'm not bitter about that still. What are you talking about? That will do it for another Animal Crossing episode. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Reminder that you can find links in the video description for the unedited recording sessions of this playthrough, as well as individual links to the streams in particular that featured the days covered in this episode summary. Until we meet again, this has been SlimKirby, and I'll see you guys next time. Later, folks.